GJ Math.
Okay, now we're at one of the last exercises in this chapter. When they give you info and you need to set up two equations to do simultaneous equations to solve the question. So it's word sum type questions. Please look at the ones you want to do. I would suggest doing all of them. Starts easy and then it goes extremely difficult. This is one of the most difficult questions they can ask in tests and exams. Enjoy. Question 1. The third term of an arithmetic sequence is 4 and the 10th term is minus 17. Determine the value of the first term and the constant difference. Okay, so our goal with this is to set up two equations and then to do simultaneous equations to solve this. So you need to get used to understanding the question, dissecting the question, and then knowing, okay, this is the method I'm going to follow. There aren't really other ways to do this question except for getting two equations. So let's get equation 1. I know T3 is equal to 4, but just like you saw in the intro to this video, I can rewrite T3 as A plus 2D is equal to 4 because it's arithmetic. Now the same with T10. So T10 is equal to minus 17, and therefore A plus 9D would be equal to minus 17. Now you can choose elimination or substitution. With this specific question, elimination will be easier. So I'm just going to name that 1. I'm going to name that 2. And then I must write what I am doing so the marker understands where the next equation is coming from. So what I'm going to do is I'm looking for the one with the biggest d value. So that's equation 2. So I'm going to say I'm going to take equation 2 minus equation 1. How would that look? A plus 9d equals minus 17. And then minus, I put a bracket, a plus 2d equals to 4. Okay, so now, just like in primary school, I'm just going to take each column and subtract. So a minus a is nothing. 9d minus 2d is going to give me 7d. And then minus 17 minus 4 gives me negative 21. And that means d is equal to minus 3. So now I answered half of their question, but they also wanted to know what is my first term. So now I can just write, I am going to sub d into, you can choose any of your equations, just take, I'm just going to take number 1. Okay, a plus 2 times negative 3 must be equal to 4. I know that's minus 6. If I take it over, it becomes 4 plus 6. And there I answered their question. Okay, so where would you get your marks from? You'd get a mark for equation 1, a mark for equation 2, then a mark for the method you chose, then for D, and then for A. Okay, how was that? I don't think this was a very difficult question. Once you know the method, you can flow and do any of these questions. But unfortunately, it doesn't stay like this. So let's look at another few. Question 2, in a geometric sequence, T3 is equal to 15 over 16, T6 is equal to 5 over 18, and the last term is equal to 40 over 729. How many terms are there in the sequence? So already this is ramping up a lot, and this is what they do in tests and exams, to take the basics that you know, but just pile on extra questions to it. So let's go through this step by step. The first thing I need to figure out is what is A and what is R. They tell me it's geometric. So to do that, I need two equations. So T3 is equal to 15 over 16. Because it's geometric, I can therefore say A times R squared is equal to 15 over 16. That would be equation 1. Now I can get equation 2. So T6 is equal to 5 over 18, which means this is A times R to the power 5 is equal to 5 over 18. Equation 2. So once again, you can do substitution with this. It would just give you even worse fractions. So I am going to go elimination again, but this time I'm not going to minus, I am going to divide the two equations. So this is the only place that you officially do dividing elimination sums. Okay, so I'm always going to take the one with the biggest R value. So I'm going to say term 2 divided by term 1. So A times R5 equals 5 over 18. And I'm going to divide that by equation 1, which is A R squared, 15 over 16. Once again, I'm just taking each column and dividing it. So A divided by A just gives me a nothing, a 1. Then R5 divided by R squared is going to give me R cubed. Okay, that should be in the therefore sign. That is equal to, and now if I divide the two fractions, I am actually going to get 8 over 27. And both of those are cube numbers. So if I take the cube root, R is just equal to 2 over 3. Okay, so that is a bit complicated, but when it's geometric, you are allowed to do that, and that's how you get the R value. Now I must just get the a value, and to do that, I'm just going to say sub r into any of the equations. Both of them does not look nice, so I'm just going to take equation 1. And therefore, a times 2 over 3 squared is equal to 15 over 16. I know 2 over 3 squared is 4 over 9, so I'm just going to say I'm going to take a is equal to 15 over 16 divided by 4 over 9. Luckily, my calculator can do that, and it will tell me the answer is 135 over 64. Now, normally the question would stop there, but in this case, they asked me what is the last term, or what is the position of the last term. This means I need to do the Tn formula, make it equal to that value, and then solve. So I know Tn for the geometric is a times r to the power n minus 1. So a is 135 over 64 times r 2 over 3, and then to the power n minus 1. I need to find n if Tn is equal to 40 over 7 to 9. First step, I'm going to divide by this extra fraction that does not have the exponent. Just rewrite. Okay. First step, I'm going to divide by 135 over 64. If I do that, it will give me 512 over 19683. And that equals to 2 over 3 to the power n minus 1. Now, once again, you can choose if you want to do logs or if you want to do shift fact. Both will work, both will give you your answer. Let me show you both methods. If I go with logs, because in the end of, or by the time you get to June exams, you will know logs. This is the easier one for now. So let me just do logs. And that would say log, the base stays the base, and the other two numbers swap around. 19683, and this is n minus 1. Therefore, if I type it in the calculator, my calculator will tell me that log's answer is 9, and therefore, to answer the question, I take the minus 1 over, and therefore n is equal to 10. Let me just show you what I would do if I went with the shift fact. Okay, so then you would take, because it's a fraction, my calculator can't do it, so I need to take each one separately and do the shift fact part. So then 512 shift fact would be 2 to the power 9, and then 19,683 shift fact would give you 3 to the power 9 is then equal to 2 over 3 n minus 1. And that I can rewrite as 2 over 3 to the power 9 is equal to 2 over 3 n minus 1. Therefore, bases are the same. You can drop the bases, and that's how you get n is 9 plus 1, which gives you 10. Both methods work. Please choose one now when you're not in a stressful situation. Practice it, and by the time you get in a test, you will ace this question, because then you don't need to guess which method is better. Okay, let's see where the marks come from. So this one is really, this is an exam type question. So you would get 6 marks for this question. 1 for setting up equation 1 and 2. Then for getting the correct r value. Then for using that and to get the correct a value. Then by finding the n position. Okay, you'll definitely also get a mark. But you'll get a mark there for choosing the right formula and subbing in. They would also give you a mark for telling them what you did with the simultaneous equation, so that they can see which method you followed. So those are the 6 marks that you will get for this question. How did that go? Did you understand what to do and why we're doing it? If not, please go and rewatch the video where we explain this. Okay, let's look at question 3. Question 3, in a geometric series, S4 is equal to 45 and S8 is equal to 765. Determine the first 3 terms. Okay, now we're ramping up the difficulty even more, because now the formulas that we've used up till now is not going to work because they don't give me Tn in any of these. So what I'm going to do is just sub it into the geometric Sn formulas. So firstly, S4 is equal to 45. I know S for geometric I can rewrite as my A value, and then R to the power n minus 1, so 4 minus 1, over R minus 1. Okay, I actually can't simplify that any further, so that would be equation 1. Then they also talk about S8, so I can rewrite that as 765 is equal to A R8 minus 1 over R minus 1. And that would be equation 2. Okay, so now I need to decide elimination, substitution. In this case, elimination is going to be very tricky with this. It's possible, but it's going to be very tricky, so I won't suggest it in any case. I need to isolate something. It's going to be very difficult to isolate R, so I am going to get A alone. And if I take the 45, I multiply the R minus 1 over, so that's 45r minus 1, which is equal to a, and then I'm actually going to divide by the r4 minus 1. Okay, so I am doing a few steps in one. I hope I haven't lost you, but this would be equation 3. So I literally just took this bracket, multiplied it up top, this one, divided it to go to the bottom. Okay, that is equation 3. Now, simultaneous equations, I must tell them what I'm doing. I am going to sub 3 into 2. Okay, now, please be very careful. I can't sub 3 into 1 because it's the same formula. It's just going to cancel everything out. So always into the one you haven't used. Okay, let's write that. So 7, 6, 5 is equal to, just going to do this in another color so you can see what's going on, 4, 5r minus 1 over r4 minus 1. Now, something in math that is not really taught in schools is I can rewrite this equation as a times r8 minus 1 over r minus 1. So I can separate the a. It's still a over 1, so it's still up top. I just separated it so that I can easily see what's the denominator and what's the numerator. That's really going to help me in this case, because now I can say this is r8 minus 1 over r minus 1. So that keeps me from having a triple fraction. Anything you need to know about me, I hate triple fractions because it just confuses everybody. So in this case, I can now start cancelling things out. So I want to get r alone. Now there's many r's in this case, but I can already say this bracket would cancel that bracket. Okay, I'm going to rewrite this now. I want to move the 45 over, so over 45. And then I have r8 minus 1 over r4 minus 1. r8 minus 1 is actually difference of squares. Both of them are, but a tip, never do all the difference of squares at once. Do the biggest one first and see if it can maybe cancel out something else. So r8 minus 1, I can split up to r4 minus 1 times r4 plus 1. Okay, and that is still over r4 minus 1. Put that in a bracket, and great. Now this bracket can cancel that bracket, and I'm only left with the r4 plus 1. Now I can type in 765 over 45. That is actually 17 is equal to r4 plus 1. I can move the plus 1 over, and this gives me 16 is equal to r4. Then I can get the fourth root of both sides. So the fourth root of 16, the fourth root of r4, and therefore r equals 2. Okay, great. That was a massive process. Now I can go back to equation 3. I'm just going to do this in another color because my screen is a bit tight now. So I can just say sub r into number 3. Okay. If I do that, then I have 45, 2 minus 1 over 2 to the power 4 minus 1. So up top, 2 minus 1 is just 1. So it's 45 divided by 16 minus 1, which is going to be 15. And therefore, a is equal to 3. Okay, great. Now I have a, I have r. But the question was to get the first 3 terms. Like we saw in the beginning of this video, I can say a is term 1. So term 1 is equal to a, which then is equal to 3. Term 2 is equal to ar. So then I can say this would be equal to 3 times 2 to the power 1, which is just 6. And then term 3 would be equal to ar squared. So 3 times 2 squared. And that would just give me 12. There we go. So find the first 3 terms. The first 3 terms are 3, 6, and 12. Okay, let's mark this. So you'll get a mark for equation 1, equation 2. And then you would get a mark for subbing into the right formula, so for telling them what you're going to do and doing it correct. Then you get a mark for R, you get a mark for A, and then a mark for answering the question. Okay, guys, that's an exam level question. How did it go? Would you have gotten 6 marks for this thing? Please let me know. Let's look at the last one. Question 4. The first 2 terms of an arithmetic and a geometric series are the same. The first term is 12. S3 of the geometric series is 3 more than S3 of the arithmetic series. Determine 2 possible values for R in the geometric series. Okay, so please don't run away. Don't skip. Let's look at how you would do this question. This comes straight from an exam. So I always say, watch out for chapter 1. If you do each video or each exercise separately, it feels so easy because your brain knows what to do. But then they throw in things like this, where it just feels like an omelet, where everything's just mixed and demokar, and let's separate it. So please take highlighters. If you have a question like this, please take highlighters or colors or something to just help your brain separate the info. Okay, so firstly, my arithmetic series I am going to make blue. The first two terms for both are the same. So the first term for an arithmetic series is a. The second term would be a plus d. And the third term would be a plus 2d. Okay, so they're only talking about S3 in this case. So let me just keep with my colors. Okay, so that is S3 for the arithmetic. Now if I go for geometric, term 1 would be equal to a. Term 2 would be equal to a times r to the power 1. And term 3 would be equal to a r squared. So that's the S3 they're talking about there. Okay, so now if I simplify a little bit, so S3 arithmetic would be equal to, there's 3 a's there, so it's 3a plus 3d. Okay, that's lekker. It simplified nicely. Okay, and then with the other one, if I add that, I can't add that. So that's just going to be S3 is equal to that. Okay, so you'll notice I'm not labeling this equation 1 and equation 2 because they give me something else in this case. And they say S3 of the geometric is 3 more than S3 of the arithmetic. So just going to stick to their sentence structure. The green S3 was mentioned first. So I'm going to say A plus AR squared is equal to the blue one. So 3A plus 3D. But now there's a very important part, 3 more than. I need to plus 3 somewhere. So let's just think about just logically. S3 of the geometric is 3 more than the arithmetic. So if I am going to put them equal to, I need to figure out which one is the smaller one. Because to that one I must plus 3. Now the green one is bigger than the blue one because they mentioned it first and they said it's 3 more. So I need to put a plus 3 on this side. Okay, so there's my equation that I'm working with. But I really can't do anything. There's like terms for A, but then there's an R and a D and an A in the sum. Okay, there's something else that they mention. That's very important. They are telling me the first terms are equal, and they're telling me A is 12. So let me just do that as well. So I can say this is 12 plus 12R plus 12R squared is equal to 3 times 12 plus 3 plus 3D. So I can simplify a little bit to say, okay, so this would be 36 plus 30 plus 3 gives me 39 plus 3D. And then on the other side, I can't really do much there. 12R plus 12R squared. Okay, I know I can take 39 minus 12. Okay, but let's just see what else I have in this thing. They are telling me the first two terms for both are the same. So that means this must be equal to this. And I am just going to set up a little equation for that. So I now know A plus D is equal to AR. And I know A is 12. So 12R is equal to 12 plus D. Okay, so now I can get somewhere and I can set up a simultaneous equation sum. I'm just going to get D alone. So D is going to be 12R minus 12. And I'm going to name that equation 1. And this would be equation 2. Okay, so now I can sub in to that D value and then I have an equation with only R values. Okay, I hope you guys are still with me. I know this is a extremely tricky question. So let's go. I'm just going to stick to one color now just to make it easier to work with. So I need to tell them what I'm doing. So sub 1 into 2. Otherwise, they're not going to know where things changed all of a sudden. Okay, so let's rewrite this. So 12 plus 12R plus 12R squared is equal to 39 plus 3. And I'm replacing D with 12R minus 12. Okay, I can see this is going to end up with a trinomial. So my R squared value is on the left. So I'm just going to shuffle this a bit and simplify. So 12R squared plus 12R. And then I can start bringing things over. So let me just rewrite for this step. I don't want to lose you guys. So minus 39. And then 3 times 12 gives me 36. So I can put a minus 36R. And then 3 times 12 is another 36. But it was a minus on the right. So it's going to be a plus on the left. Equals to 0. Let's simplify. So 12R squared. Now I need to see how many R values are there. Sorry, that jokes. Okay, there's one, there's one. So this would be 12 minus 36 is minus 24R. Then 12 minus 39 plus 36 is going to give me plus 9 equal 0. Okay, great. There is my trinomial. So you can do trinomial in whatever way you want. Just make sure you show them the brackets or the formula. I am actually going to take the old school way and say, okay, but I can divide everything by 3. That gives me 4r squared minus 8r plus 3 equals 0, and that's going to help me see the brackets. So I can take 2 times 2, or 4 times 1, and then 3 times 1. If I multiply those two, I get a 6. If I multiply those two, I get a 2. So minus 6 minus 2 gives me minus 8. So I'm going to say this is 2r, minus 3, minus 1 equals 0. And then, therefore, my answer will be 2r minus 3 equals 0. And that will tell me that r is equal to 3 over 2. Or I can say 2r minus 1 is equal to 0, and therefore r is equal to 1 over 2. Okay, that was an exam question. Let's see where you would get 6 marks for this. Okay, so you will get a mark for setting up your equations. So definitely a mark there for understanding and interpreting that. Then a mark for that part where they said the second terms are equal. Now you're going to get a mark for subbing in equation 1 and equation 2 and simplifying and those things. So I'll get a mark there. I'll get a mark for the trinomial. And then for my 2 answers, I'll get a mark. Okay, guys, I'm really interested to know if this makes sense. I know this was very tricky, and unfortunately it gets even more tricky on this level sometimes. But please let me know how this went for you in the comments.
If this video helped you, please like and subscribe.
GJ Math!